I think you can also note the difference between the UAE's approach to Iran, negotiations with Iran, and the Saudi approach, the Baghdad process that the Saudis are. The UAE engaged much more quickly with Iran than Saudi did. They've gone further with the Iranians than the Saudi did. They have, all kinds of interests Saudi Arabia doesn't have, like especially Dubai's commercial relations with Iran, etc. But more to the point, UAE is a small country, very powerful country, but a small country, and it doesn't have the same level of global Islamic and regional Arab role, and it doesn't have the same political complexity as Saudi Arabia. So UAE is nimble, it's agile, it can move quickly. Saudi Arabia is big, its calculations are complicated, internal, and all the politics, and what's this one going to say, and what are the religious conservatives, the middle class, and of course, how is it going to impact at the OIC and vis-a-vis Turkey and Iran and Malaysia and Indonesia and Pakistan and all the other countries that claim some kind of Islamic leadership role. So these are all considerations that weigh heavily on Saudi Arabia that are not really there, at least not much for UAE. And I think UAE has specialized in moving quickly and decisively. And during this period of de-escalation that we see that everyone is engaging in pretty much. I mean, the only regional conflict that has not de-escalated is the shadow war between Israel and Iran. Everything else has de-escalated to some extent, Local conflicts go on in Syria and Yemen, etc. But the regional confrontation, there is de-escalation. The first country, I think, to really announce that to let it be known that this process was happening in a dramatic way was the UAE when they initiated the Abraham Accord opening with Israel. I think that was the first moment that de-escalation became, publicly and obviously a thing, a phenomenon. And I think also that UAE has embraced this idea of de-escalation more enthusiastically than any other country. Maybe the other one is Turkey, in fact, because Turkey was, in many ways, the most powerful country in the region. It also was the most overextended. It quarreled with just about everyone, except Azerbaijan, Hamas in Gaza, the GNA in Western Libya, and Northern Cyprus, and Qatar. That's a small list. That's a very small list. It was having fights with absolutely everybody, including Washington, Moscow, all the other Middle Eastern countries, Iran, Saudi, Egypt, everybody. And with troops in Syria, troops in Iraq, troops in meddling in Turkey, in Libya, in the Caucasus. Even a powerful country cannot be on terrible terms with everybody and directly or indirectly involved in like 9 wars at the same time. This is preposterous. So I think they have every reason to pull back, and they are doing it. So this, in a way, is a big reconciliation between the two countries most enthusiastic about de-escalation. The least enthusiastic is Iran and its network of militias. The Houthis obviously perfectly prepared to not only continue the Yemen war, but to take it into the region. I think the Assad regime in Syria is not finished trying to reconquer all of its territory. And there are other actors in different places, the PMF groups, Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq, etc. are not, many of them are not finished with fighting. So the question then will be, how much space do regional actors really have? Or to what extent will these conflicts chase them? And you could say, I'm not interested in your conflict, but the conflict might be interested in you. We will find out.